So I have to tell you guys about this amazing breakthrough that I had. And I'm sure my lives are going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. But I figured I would catch it on here while I am having that up. So Sunday night, when I was telling you guys about my really hard night, I'll kind of tell you a little bit about that, and then I'll tell you about my breakthrough. So Sunday night, I had like a huge breakdown, and it's funny because I still did a live, and I had a breakdown. My breakdown is as a child, you guys have known that I was abused in everything, and I've never ever had this happen, but something triggered me, and I went into little girl mode. And this might sound a little weird, but I went from feeling like an adult but feeling the trauma of being a little girl to I could seriously feel, think, and see myself being a little girl again. And I just sat there and sobbed. I was sobbing and crying so hard that I was shaking so bad. And I told my husband, he was holding me, and he's like, "What is going on?" And I was like, I can seriously feel and see myself getting sexually abused again. And it was really weird to have felt that, because I've never been able to separate the two. And so it was really confusing, and it freaked me out so bad. It made me cry even harder. So yesterday was my therapy with my EMDR. I went into my counselor and I told him, he's like, "How has your week been?" And I just started sobbing. I'm like, I have had the hardest week. I haven't been able to work. I haven't been able to really talk to people. Everything has triggered me. I have struggled really bad. And he just kind of sat there and looked at me. So I told him about the incident that happened Sunday night. I ended up missing church because my just being so overwhelmed and scared of going the next day to EMDR, even though I've seen that it doesn't hurt me. So I told him about how I went into feeling like a little girl again. And he looked at me and he smiled really big, which alarmed me because I was like, this isn't a good thing. Why is he giving me this smile? And he said, "This is really good." And I said, "Why? Why is this so good?" And he's like, "You were able to separate the little girl you and feeling and seeing and experiencing that from an adult. Because when they talk to you through your trauma and stuff, they want you to be able to separate yourself from the trauma and be able to see yourself as an individual person on the side from what is happening to you." And he says, "That's exactly what happened to you Sunday night." And I said, "It was one of the most miserable things I have ever experienced." And I said, "It was so terrifying. I just wanted to crawl up in a ball." Well, I did crawl up in a ball. And so he's like, "Okay, let's start your therapy." So yesterday he did a different type of EMDR therapy. Instead of holding on to paddles and watching the light go back and forth, blinking with it vibrating, he sat there and tapped on my knees. Now, for somebody who's been sexually abused, this is a very sensitive thing for me, because one, it happened with a man, and two, it all started going, with my legs and stuff. And I know this, you don't want to hear detail, and I'm not going to give detail, but it was like, I'm shaking so bad right now because I'm talking about it. But so I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, like, he's touching my legs. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And I just started sobbing again, and he has me focus on things. And my brain started going back and forth to all these different things. Before I knew it, I wasn't even worried about him tapping on my legs. I wasn't even worried about him being a man and helping me with this. Like, I actually felt trust in him. So the neatest thing, and I'm probably going to get super emotional because this makes me so happy, I kept going from negative to negative to negative, to all of a sudden my brain on its own, all this is on its own, he doesn't direct you in any specific direction, but on its own, my brain went to feeling safe. And it thought about, it went all the way from smelling what it smelled like when the abuse happened. I could physically feel myself getting abused again. I could physically smell, hear, and taste everything that I felt all those nights that things kept happening to me over and over. I could picture the color of the blanket. I could picture the clothes that I was in. I could picture my chest. Like, I started hyperventilating because of how extreme and intense it became. Like, I was reliving being a little girl again and being abused. Now, don't hop off yet. There is good to this. It's not all negative, okay? But there's reasons why I felt like I needed to get on here and talk to you guys about this today. There's reasons why I continue to keep talking about these things, because it doesn't get talked about enough. So as I'm experiencing these things, these huge waves of emotions hit me so hard that he's like, you can do this. You've got this. You can do this. And he started helping me think, okay, you're in a train, and now make these memories go as if you're going fast on a train with them, watching each yucky memory that you're going through pass before you. And so he's sitting there continuing to tap my knees. And it started to, and it was crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then as a whole bunch of yucky stuff kept coming up, and he has you do the breathing exercise, and then stops, and then you talk just a titch about it. So you don't have to sit there and like rummage up every detail. Your brain does it for you. Then he has me start doing it again. He starts tapping my knees. And all of a sudden, here's the breakthrough. Okay, you guys, this is a miracle. He looks at me as he stops, and I start crying, and he's like, what did you think this time? What are you feeling? What was your brain going towards? And I said, I'm safe. I'm an adult. I'm an adult now. I'm safe. I'm not that little girl anymore. It was almost like I could hop out of that fearful, intense, scared little girl that was offended over and over and over again. And even though as an adult, I still was offended over and over and over again. But I was able to picture my 3 precious little children. I was able to feel safe with my husband, because there's some stuff with that, with some past of what has happened. And that's a whole nother thing. But I was able to look at him and feel like this huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And he got this big smile on his face. He's like, really? And I said, I can breathe. I don't feel like there's something suffocating me anymore. I'm like, I'm not in scary situations anymore. My home is safe. It's beautiful. I have my husband. And he's like, okay, I want you to focus on the people in your life that help you feel safe. And my brain started doing it on its own. I started rummaging through every single person I know in my life, and not one person is unsafe. I've been able to weed out all of the ones that hurt me, made me feel bad, made things awful for me. And I was able to realize, sit back again after we stopped again. And he said, okay, who are the safe people in your life? Then my brain started going back as an adult into unsafe places. The different men that hurt me, the different things they did to me. I felt those exact intense emotions, and I'm like, wait, I'm going back this direction. I don't want to go back this direction. And all of a sudden, my brain on its own went to taking my husband with me to those places, taking my kids with me to those places. And usually my brain would be thinking, why do I want to take them to these unsafe places with these unsafe people? And instead, it was almost like our family was a little army of its own, and saying, you can't touch me. You can't do these things to me. I have control over myself. I have control over what I go through and the things that happen. And it was seriously amazing, because these things have been ruining my life for 32 years. I have stood back away from certain things in my life because it scared me. I've ruined relationships because of the sabotaging and fear that it's put me in. And I actually felt physically, emotionally, and mentally was able to see the adult person of me. And I looked up at him again and I said, I do a dang good job at protecting my family and my kids. I do a dang good job at being able to get back up on my feet and continue thriving and striving and moving forward no matter what bad things have happened to me. And he's like, that's right. And he looks at me as I start crying. I'm like, they're happy tears. And he's like, do you not realize that you have been progressing? And all this time, when you're in the middle of a miserable thing, you sit there and you look, I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I can't move forward. I feel like I can't get any better than where I'm at. And he helped me to be able to stand back because he's on the outer view and say, no, you've been able to do this and this and this and this and this. And so even though it was a really, really hard session and it was a big struggle for me and absolutely terrifying to the point where I felt like I was going to throw up, because stress and anxiety can really seriously make your body feel like you're sick, and it can really debilitate your body, I was able to feel something that most of you guys probably feel on a day-to-day basis. Most of you guys probably take it for granted, not realizing how good you have it, not having to have gone through awful things like this to have to overcome, but you have your own things that you go through and that you struggle with that not any of us can empathize with. And so he told me at the end, he's like, I told you this was going to take a long time. He's like, you don't have normal PTSD, you have complex PTSD, which is really, really bad PTSD. It means that it's years and years and years worth of trauma. And, you know, I was talking about it with my friend today, and I told her about the incident and everything. Thanks, Emma. And it makes me realize that I can broadcast it all over Facebook. I can go live, but I want to go above and beyond being able to share my experience with kids, because that's where it starts. Usually that's where it starts. Usually that's where they start making decisions in their life that aren't good, because they don't know who they are. They don't know what they stand for. They don't know what their worth is, and they don't know what their potential is. And I want to be able to go out to high schools and middle schools and elementary and talk to them. I want to go to addiction recovery program places, because I've experienced some of that. I want to be able to be an inspirational speaker where I go and speak to gigantic crowds. Oh my gosh, yes, like I could do thousands of people and be able to share my voice, because I have a voice now. And today I feel strong. And today I'm going to write in my journal and be grateful for being able to share my experiences with people and to not feel embarrassed or ashamed or scared of doing it. I don't care what people think. I don't care if somebody thinks that maybe I whine about it or this, that, and the other, because you know what, guys? If you watch TV, you watch the news, or not even all of them are put on the news, you have no idea how many of those people in prison and in jail have all been abused, some shape or form. Every single one of them. And I've talked to hundreds of them when I did a speaking night at the women's prison. Every single one of them came up to me telling me the reason why I got into murder, the reason why I got into being a prostitute, the reason why I did drugs, the reason why I did alcohol was because they didn't know how to live. They didn't know how to feel good about themselves, because that's all that they had been taught, was not to respect what they were given and who they are. I had one lady that talked to me at the very end. I don't remember her name, but she was going to be going home from prison 2 days from the day that I spoke to her. And she was terrified because she was going back to her husband, who was abusive. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And we said, you know, this is your first time going back. This is your way to be able to break free and start over. Now that's easier said than done. Not just snap of a finger, get up, get over it. I've had people tell me that, like, how long is it going to take you to get over this? Like, how long is it going to take you to get through this? And then I start getting anxious, because I'm like, everybody's expecting me to hurry the process up and be a normal person and happy again. Well, geez, it takes a long time. I have to learn to be to be patient with myself, because the more that I pressure myself, the more you draw back, your brain and your body draw back because of that pressure and the bad nervous excitement that it gives. And so it's amazing to see at how smart our brains are and how our brains were made to be able to process things on its own. Now, I came home, told my husband about it. I showed him how the tapping was done on the knees, and he's like, this is kind of dumb. And I was like, yeah, it looks pretty dumb, doesn't it? And so I'm like, just let me keep tapping on your knees. And I know I'm not a doctor and I'm not trying to be, but all of a sudden he starts freaking out and he's like, stop it. And I said, why? And he's like, it's making my brain think all sorts of things. And he's like, it's from here to there to here to there to here. And so we stopped because I don't know how to clean up whatever it's going to pull out of his brain. But it was kind of funny because he was like, I thought that was stupid. And he's like, whoa, it really, really does work. And so writing these positive things down in my journal on a daily basis is going to help rewire my brain so that instead of all these years of going towards negative things and negative feelings and thoughts, it's going to start training it to think positive things so that it's easily, every time I talk about something traumatic or I go through something hard, instead of it being a trigger, it's going to be like, yeah, I went through that. No big deal. But focusing, that is my next biggest thing. That is my next most exciting thing that I'm going to choose to do. If you guys happen to know of any places where they need an inspirational speaker, I would love to go seriously speak to kids and to people, because I really feel like this was my reason in life. This is what I was born to do. I feel like I went through these things not on purpose for this, but I feel that instead of taking everything that I've struggled with, that I've gone through, and just sitting on it and being like, okay, well, we'll just forget about it and get rid of it, I can help people with this. And think about how many people can be helped by this because of my experiences and the things that I've gone through. So I wanted to share with you. If you haven't watched the whole thing of this, please do, because it is super, super special at what I went through and how that huge breakthrough that usually takes a long time for you to be able to notice that it's happening. And I was able to do that at, my third session. So wanted to come on and share this with you guys. And seriously, I love you all. And I'm so appreciative for your guys' support, because it feels good to be able to do lives about this. It feels good to be able to help people and to strengthen people, even if it's just for a few minutes or for a day. So hopefully this helped you guys, and I love you guys, and take time to watch the whole thing. See you later.